Hi, everybody. It's Ms. Hanley. I am taking advantage of a beautiful day on my porch, and I'm recording from outside. So if you hear my dog or crows, that's what that is. So I hope that's not too distracting. And there she goes. I'm going to show you how to access a Google Doc with your child. A Google Doc is just a word processing document. And the way that you can do that, there are several ways. When you sign on, your child signs on to their Chromebook. You can always come to this little Google Apps symbol right up here and click that open and then go to the doc page. You can access this from any of the apps that you're using on Google. So if you were in the classroom, you could access it from there by finding this symbol right up here just as well, or even another doc. If you were working on another document, you could come up here to go to email, or you could come down here to go to classroom. Wherever you need to go, this is kind of like your navigation hub, so to speak. So since I'm on email, I just click this open, and then I come down here to the docs. I click that open, and it's going to take me to my home page on my Google Docs. And that might take a second to load because I'm at home. My internet is slow. Okay, and so mine's going to look a little bit different than your child's, but it's basically the same. You'll have pretty much the same look to it. I have a ton of documents that are down here that I could click and open if I needed to work on them, but I don't. I want to start a new one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to open a blank Google Doc. And I just click on that plus sign. And I apologize for my dog. She's not happy that she's in the house by herself and she can see me and hear me talking. So here I am on, get rid of that, on my fresh new Google Doc page. And you will not see this symbol down here because that's my recording information while I'm doing this. But you will have, let's see. This is interesting. I'm not on the right setting. I don't like it when it looks like this. Hold on just a second. I need to get to the way I want it to look. And I apologize that I did not predict this would happen. So this is the full screen. I don't like working in the full screen. I want to see my menu. Oh boy, why isn't it showing my menu? I'm sorry, you guys. Of course, I would choose to, record when I have something not working the right way, and I can't quite put two thoughts together as I'm recording to fix it. Oh my goodness. All right. What on earth did I do? Oh my goodness. I don't think it matters that I'm doing any of this. There we go. Okay, I had to, what happened? I had it. Press escape. Oh, I dismissed my, geez, there I go. Tell you what, even when you think you know what you're doing. Okay, that's going to be the theme of the year is patience and perseverance, right? So here's the Google Doc. This is what it's going to look like when your children open it. And the first thing I always ask students to do before they get crazy and start typing anything is to go right up to this title line and rename their document. It should never stay untitled document because it's going to make it harder for them to figure out what they're looking for later on. And I'll show you what I mean. So we're going to call this practice document. And then that's going to let me find this in my menu, that screen that we first came to when I opened it and I showed you some of my examples. When I want to get this particular document back, I'll know what it's called, I'll know what to look for. And so we always name our documents. And so when I'm ready to type, I need to come back to my white page and click in it. And then my cursor will blink, and that means I'm ready to start typing. As we begin the year, I'm going to encourage students not to mess around with fonts. That's really challenging because they're super fun. And I'm going to ask them to resist changing their sizes. The only time I would probably request them to change it would be to make it a little bit bigger, so it's easier for me to read on screen. And so usually that would be size 14. Sometimes I may not even ask them to, and that's fine too. There's lots to a Google Doc for children who are not familiar with it, like all of these symbols. What do these symbols do? What do they mean? But I'm just going to go over some basics with you so that you can help from home. I'm not going to request that they do anything too wild and crazy right now. I just want them to be able to gain some comfort with using this if they're not familiar. As third graders, they probably use this quite a bit in third grade if their teacher was using a Chromebook with them to do some of their writing. But just in case, there are some basics. And so the first thing you'd want to do for me is to put your name on the document. And the reason that I ask students to do that is that if I print this at home, I want to be able to go through the stack of papers that I printed and be able to see whose this was. Sometimes it's not very eco-friendly of me, but sometimes it's easier for me to look at a hard copy, especially if, like, let's say Wednesday, I've been on a screen all day. I just need a break from that. Then I might want to print. So their name needs to go on it. And I might also want to print for you too, to keep a little, portfolio that I can hand to you. So there's my name. I'm going to get started with my assignment. Now, generally speaking, in Google Classroom, when I give assignments, I will tell students what to call the assignment. We're going to make something up today. Narrative essay. Okay. And then I would ask the students to type the date in. I have no idea what today is, so I'm going to come up to my time, click on it, and it will tell me September 6th. Okay, so I can come back down here, put the date in my document, and then I'm ready to go. Okay, so then I would begin my story. Hit the tab button. I'll just type something quickly. Okay, so that's just a little bit so that I have something to work with here. So this would be a narrative essay, their practice document. Perhaps they're finished, perhaps they need to take a break. The great thing about Google Docs is you do not need to share, or you do not need to save anything. So in years past, if you're familiar with, some other apps or programs, you would have to come up to File and go to Save or Save As, but that's not necessary with Google Docs. It saves itself periodically, and so you don't need to worry about doing that. If you were to close the laptop lid right now or turn the computer off or lose power and walk away, it would be fine. This would still be here. And you would just need to go back to the menu and find that document. Okay, so that's a really cool feature. The other thing that's handy to know is that sometimes students, when they're typing, they accidentally delete things. And I can't tell you how many times I have heard, "Oh, Ms. Hanley, it just disappeared. I didn't do anything." And the truth of that matter is that they did, but they didn't mean to, and they didn't realize they did. Normally that happens when they accidentally highlight text like this by dragging and holding down on the mouse or the pad. And then they let go, and the next thing you know, they've clicked the delete button or the space bar. And there it goes. It's gone. If this happens to your child at home, this is something that I review with the kids all the time. Don't touch another key. Don't press anything else. Stay right there. And you can recover that a couple of different ways. You can go up to the edit and you can do the undo and then click on the white space to get rid of that nasty highlighting that deleted it in the first place. Or, let's see if this will work today. Sometimes you can go up to, File, Version History, See Version History, and click on that. And off to the side, you will have it only, you see that it doesn't save constantly. It's just periodically here. Every few minutes, the history will save. What do you have now? And what did you have a few minutes ago? And sometimes you can save, whatever was there before. And as you can see, it wasn't enough time to record everything that I had done because I hadn't been working very long, obviously. So it's gone on this particular version. But if you are in it, you did it quickly just a little while ago, and you come up to, and you haven't clicked anything else, okay, and you come up to the edit button, you can save it with the undo, but you can't click anything else or it's not going to work, okay? So that's a couple of ways that I save kiddos when they kind of get themselves in a jam and accidentally delete their typing. It happens, and sometimes you can't save it, like you saw when I went to history. It didn't work. But we can usually get back some of it or most of it that way if they've been working for a long length of time. Okay, so that's one of the first things that I like to teach parents, is that all is not lost. You can usually get it back. I'm going to encourage you to not worry too much about underlining. I don't want kids changing their text color or highlighting things yet or anything like that. Just basic word processing. So that's really the most important part of it. The other thing that's important to know is, students will oftentimes panic because they're typing and everything's in capital letters. They don't know why. The caps lock button might be on. So make sure they're checking that. Let me just scroll through here really quickly. There really isn't anything too tricky or important, I think, other than that right now, that students would need to know. I'm just hovering over this insert. Kids love to put pictures into their writing. Unless I ask for that, I really don't want them filling up their pages with lots of cool pictures from the internet. And I'll go over that with them too, of course. And then other than that, I think for now, like I said, these are just the most important things to know about. Now, you're going to be typing, and let's say your child misspells something. That word will be underlined in a squiggly red mark. You can click on it, and their suggestion based on your sentence will be up above. The students can click on that, and it will fix the spelling mistake. If it's a grammatical error, let's get rid of that word of. Oop, it didn't do it. Interesting. Maybe if I put a comma in the wrong place, it will show us. There we go. So if you make some sort of grammatical error or punctuation error, you'll get a blue squiggly underline. And if you click on that, it will suggest what they think is correct for what you're typing. And you can click on that as well. Okay. So when your child sees the red line or the blue line and they're like, I have no idea why that's there, that's what that means. And oftentimes with names, you will get a red squiggly line because they don't recognize it. So, obviously if they know they've spelled their name correctly, they can just ignore that. And so that's the basics when it comes to using Google Docs. The other thing they're going to need to know is how to share a document with me. Okay. And so the way that you would share is you would come up here to this blue button, you would click on it, and it's going to ask you who you want to share it with. Okay. If you would rather just, and it will send them an email and it will have a link to that document. If you would rather just share it with a link, that's an option down here, but you have to make sure you change the setting because only certain people will get it in the district. And for us, that would be okay. I would still get it because we have that district Google account for MSAD 11. So usually what I do is I just have kids type in an email address. Okay. Some of you may see your name on there. So that's how that works. And once you type in that email address, and I'm going to save this to my private email, just to give you a little sense of what it would look like. I don't mind sharing my private email with you. Obviously I'd prefer that you use my school email. So then I would come on down here to the done button once I typed in the email address of who I want to have this. Of course, the students would be typing my name in, or a partner's name if they're working in a group. And then they would click done. And that, just like that, it goes away. And I have shared that document to that person. And so that's how they'll be passing written assignments in sometimes. Other times, they'll do it directly from their Google Classroom. It all depends on where I've directed them or what they're using. And those are all things I really plan, I hope, that I will go over very thoroughly with students And again, update you as well too. If it's a different method or a different way of doing things, I'll be sure that we practice it. Um, and so that's how you use Google Docs. Once the kids get the hang of doing this, it's easy peasy for them. And like I said, most of them already have a sense of how to use this because they've been using it. This is not new this year. The students have used Google Docs, probably most of them, at least since last year. Okay. So if you have any questions, if something happens that I didn't explain and it's totally confusing you, please let me know.